I wanted to be the teacher in Dangerous Minds. Like, I envision myself in the classroom saying this. So today I have decided to do something a little different. On my Instagram, I asked you all if you would like to see how I survived teaching high school, and I got so many people who voted on my poll and said yes. So, ta-da! Here we are, how I survived teaching high school. Now, before I start this, I realized that this can literally become a series. I cannot give every single thing in one video. I have been teaching for the last 7 years. I've been teaching since I was 22 years old, and for my entire career, except for this year, I have always taught seniors or juniors in high school. This is the first year where I also teach freshmen, and teaching freshmen is a completely different story. I'm still trying to figure those kids out. Teaching 13, 14-year-olds compared to 17, 18-year-olds, completely different. So, first thing that I want to say is teaching high school is not as scary as it sounds. I think that if you are supposed to be teaching high school, you will know it and you will want to stay in high school. I think the same way a middle school teacher would say, I could never teach high school, I love teaching middle school. That's kind of how I feel as well. I could never imagine myself teaching middle school. High school is where I belong, okay? High school is where I need to be. For my entire career, I have been teaching in the same school. I've been there for 7 years. It is a Title I school, teaching in New York City in an urban community. I do not teach in a school where classroom management is not an issue. It's actually one of the biggest issues, and it's one of the biggest hurdles that I have to cross every single year, every single semester, of every single day. I've learned that if you have no classroom management, then you cannot teach. You cannot teach without classroom management. In some schools, that's not even an issue. Kids sit down, they take out their notebook, they listen, they participate, they do their work, and they're out the door. In my school, I love you guys, but we have to enforce even that. And so how I survived teaching high school, first tip I would say is I know that I'm supposed to teach high school. You know when you get around that specific age, when you hear them participate, when you get to pick their brain and have certain bits of conversations, you know that you are supposed to be teaching that grade. High school is my heart, my passion. I love that grade, and I also love bonding with students that are that specific age. And so tip 1, I would say you have to know what grade you want to teach. And the beauty about college is that you can do student teaching programs. I did middle school and high school, so I was able to get a feel for what age group I enjoyed more, and for sure I love high school. So my first year of teaching was actually my hardest year, my first 2 years, because not only was I creating lesson plans, was I creating worksheets, was I creating PowerPoint, grading, all this stuff. You are doing that all for the first time, and you're trying to figure out, like, who am I as a teacher, right? Every teacher, I'm assuming, wants to go in and you want to change the world, okay? So Dangerous Minds, anyone seen that movie? I wanted to be the teacher in Dangerous Minds. Like, I envision myself in the classroom seeing this wreckage and building the best relationship with my students and having this unbreakable bond and buying them dinner and just whatever was in the movie. Like, that was me. Like, I grew up wanting to be that teacher, and I am not there yet, but I do believe that I have learned a lot. And one of the biggest things that I've learned is you have to respect your students. Now, for any of you that are currently watching who are my students, or you were my student, please do not take offense to anything that I say. You guys know that I love you, but I must be raw and I must be real here. So one of the hardest things is respecting individuals who do not respect you back. That is probably the most frustrating thing about teaching. You will have some students who you can kind of just tell, like, how they were brought up, how they were raised. They are respectful even when they don't want to be, which shows a great sense of maturity. And then you have those that don't care. They don't care that you care. They don't care how much you are trying to make a difference. They don't care. And those are usually the hardest ones to reach, because at that moment, it's all about building relationship, and truth be told, content and teaching them what they need to know to graduate and pass exams, that comes secondary. Building relationship is first. And I would say you have to respect them. In the mind of the students that I have taught, respect is not given, it's earned. And I believe that for them, respect is not earned, but for them, respect has to be given. And I know that sometimes for some, especially when you're an adult and you're a professional and you have your master's and you're like, like, I should be respected here. Like, they don't care about that. You can't throw around your weight. You can't throw around your title. Like, that stuff doesn't matter. And so you have to respect them automatically, but then you have to earn their respect. And it seems unfair, and it is. But for me, I believe that that is the best way that I have learned to build relationship. I automatically give respect, and I work to earn their respect in return. And for some people, they don't have the patience for that. For some people, they have too much pride. But that is what will help you get through teaching high school. Give them their respect and then earn their respect. They're teenagers, right? You have to show them that you're trustworthy. You have to show them that they can be vulnerable with you. That's not something that you can just get from them. You have to earn it. And you won't earn it with every single kid. You won't have every single kid like crying at your door, telling you about their life or whatever. But you will have those that will be like, I got you, my bad. And for me, that's enough. If I correct you or you were talking and I'm like, hey, you should have raised your hand, my bad, miss. That's it, that's all I need. So I would definitely say, know that you want to teach in order to survive teaching high school, and also you have to give respect. I remember my first year teaching, it's probably the year that I cried the most. I was always crying in my car, I was always crying when I got home. There was a time where I remember dreading walking into a specific period class because those kids just, they made my life so difficult. And I remember just never ever wanting to go in there, never ever like dreading it. I was in such a bad mood, I was super snappy, and that to me was such a learning experience because I took a lot of their behavior personal. And so another thing that I would suggest is don't take their behavior or their actions towards you personal. Now, let's be real. If you did something to offend them, you have to address it. You have to talk to them about it. But for the most part, I've learned that a lot of the attitude I get, a lot of the backlash I get, a lot of the like, leave me alone, it's not really because of me. It's because of something else that happened in the hallway, because they just argued with a friend, because they have an issue with a boyfriend or girlfriend, and now they're taking it out on you. And you have to learn to not take things personal. And that is so hard for me. You have to remember that like it's not about you, right? Like teaching is providing a service. Like you are serving your students. You are not the important one in the room. They are. And you have to remember that, especially when teaching high school. Little kids, younger kids, I can kind of understand it, but with high school for sure, like it's a different mindset. It's a completely different approach, right? You can't just throw who you are around. Like you have to be chill. You can be stern and you can do all those things, but you have to be chill. So definitely that would be my other tip, is not taking things personal. Also, how I survived teaching high school, my last thing I would say is to be yourself. When I first started teaching my first year, I had this idea, this picture of who a teacher was supposed to be. Super serious, and I wanted to make sure that the kids knew that I was like, that I was about my stuff. And because I was young, I always had this insecurity of I'm not going to be taken seriously. I'm not going to be taken seriously. And so I tried to be someone that I wasn't. And please know that younger kids, middle school, but especially high school kids, they can smell the BS, okay? They can smell it from a mile away. They know when you're not being who you're supposed to be. They know when you're a joke. They know when you're pretending. And I pretended so hard because I didn't know who I was. I was 22. I didn't know the kind of teacher I wanted to be. I just knew I wanted to change the world, and that's still a work in progress. So I would say be yourself. You can be stern and nice, right? You don't have to be, that was the thing that I had to try to figure out. How can I be quirky and myself and be funny, but still be serious and stern when it's necessary? And one of the biggest compliments that a former student could have given me was, he said, "Miss, you're strict but fair." And for me, that was, you are if you're watching, that was a huge compliment because it let me know that I was doing the right thing, that I was being strict, but I didn't have these bogus rules, that I didn't have this unrealistic expectation of my students. I was strict, but I was fair. And for me, that's what I appreciated the most. So definitely make sure that you're being yourself. Don't enforce a rule if it's not you. There are some teachers that will enforce, I don't know, a no talking rule or whatever. And like, if that's not you, if you're not the type of person that doesn't care if your students are talking over you, which I do, you better respect that rule. But you have to make sure that you create rules that are important to you. For me, one of my rules, as silly as it sounds, is you can only enter and exit through the front door. Every classroom in my school has 2 doors. You can only enter and exit through the front door. For some teachers, they might be like, that's such a silly, dumb rule. Let the kids leave or come in however they want. For me, that's important, and so that's why I can enforce it. And I explain to my kids, I want to greet you every single time you come in the room, and I also want to say goodbye every single time you exit the room. That's important to me. I want to say hello, good morning, or hello, good afternoon, and then I also, as you're leaving, I want to say, okay, enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, everyone, have a great weekend. All right, enjoy your vacation. See you guys when you come back. I want to do those things. But if that's not you, don't create a rule that you don't care about, because then you won't enforce it, you won't be consistent, and then they will walk all over you, tumble over you. So make sure that you are being yourself. Actually, maybe I should do an entire video on classroom rules and how I instill structure and management in my classroom, because that's a huge window for success if you're someone that struggles with classroom management. So those are pretty much my basic tips on how I survived high school, but by no means is that it. I can do an entire video on classroom management. I can do an entire video on building relationships. I can do an entire video on the things that I did wrong as a teacher. But for now, I feel like that's enough because this video will last forever. I hope that you guys enjoy. Please make sure that you like, that you subscribe. Please make sure that you have a great holiday, and I will see you in the next video.